Whether you're looking for a small compact base that can fit everything you need and will go relatively undetected, or you're looking for a base that can operate as your starter and eventually turn into a solid core, this 1x1 bunker might be your best option. Starting off, you're going to want to find a relatively low piece of ground, making sure that your square starting piece can fit entirely above ground, and your triangle is optional, although if it is more above ground, that's going to make things a little bit easier for you. Go ahead and upgrade those two pieces, and then you'll have a decision to make. On either side, you might not be able to pit squares, but usually we're going to operate with raised squares at this point. Now, because you're going to be surrounding this later with likely raised squares or even triangles, you have the decision of whether or not you're going to use a temporary half wall. Placing temporary half walls around the structure with plans to upgrade later is an advisable way to go to prevent outside security from being reduced. However, it does mean quite a lot of work in terms of soft setting out later if you decide you want to expand. That's because once you place your low wall, you're no longer able to place a raised foundation without first destroying the wall. If you do decide to place it with temporary low walls that are only wood, they still maintain some security while being a lot easier to soft side, only taking a single sword to soft side through in a matter of just a couple minutes. However, that does mean that from the outside, a player or a group of players will be able to hard side into your base using 8 swords. For this reason, if you do decide to use the temporary half walls, it's recommended you not leave it too long. However, usually when I build this base, I do just start with the foundation pieces that I'm going to use for my full base later. Whether that be mostly squares or a triangle on one side for honeycomb, I like to get those solidified early. Regardless of which method you take, you are going to have to do these front 2 triangles as raised areas. Now, I did say triangles, but you can actually do squares, and it really depends on what you plan for the base. I almost always go for the triangles, as I just like to use these as triangle rooms, so I don't have to put anything too important on them in case they get splashed. Now, obviously, we don't really have a bunker, we don't really have too much of anything yet, so we're gonna go ahead and close in this first room. And coming up here, you'll have to decide where you want your door. Now, part of that's gonna depend on expansion options and whether or not you intend to keep this as a solo base. For these purposes, I'm just gonna go ahead and put the door back here, which is gonna allow me to expand into this area. Next, you're going to want to get that door slapped down, lock it up, and seal in the roof. Now for the roof, you do want to make sure you upgrade it all, except I recommend leaving one of the areas as only wood. For the same reason as we mentioned earlier, giving you the soft side out option, allowing me to expand upwards later if I need to. This means I can indeed just lock this area off and not worry about hard side people coming in. Placing your TC, I usually place it back in the corner like so, giving me as much area on all sides. And you'll notice we still don't have a bunker and we really don't have much room for loot. Depending on how many teammates you have, you can fit up to 4 bags in this little 1x1 area. You do want to make sure that for the most part, especially if this is your only base, that all bags are inside the 1x1 area in order to fit things nicely. Now that doesn't leave you much room for storage, but depending on how many teammates you have, you might be able to get some more storage in here. Obviously, this is still not ideal, but it is only meant to hold you like this until you acquire metal frags. Once you've acquired a sufficient number of metal frags in order to make large boxes, we're going to go ahead and close off the rest of the bunker. In order to do that, you're going to need to come around to the outside, and whether you have a temporary foundation here or not, you'll need to create a shelf unit. Creating that exterior temporary shelf, you can come inside and connect to it. We're gonna upgrade that right away. However, you can leave it at just wood. I just prefer to have the base all in stone. Next, we're gonna build up to here, and we're gonna start placing our boxes. Going as far to the left and right as possible, we're gonna wanna make sure to also line it up straight with that back wall. It can be helpful to go through the back wall and make sure you're coming out all at the same time. And once those are placed, we're going to have to back up a little bit, so we're going to create a shelf here. And we're going to place a final box in between them. Now, it can be handy to have your crosshair on. Mine's not on, so it's a little harder to do. And you can tell right away if you've done it correctly by being able to place this half wall here. You can destroy this shelf, destroy this half wall, and place a full wall facing outwards here. And there we go. We've already got the main portion of our base done, but let's go inside here and tidy things up a bit. Now, if you are using this as just your main base, you can actually fit up to a tier 2 in this small area here, though the bags might need to be temporarily moved. A tier 3 can fit, but it will have to go lengthwise here, and that can get a little messy. You can still easily fit 2 bags down here with the box on the ground. Of course, you can also get rid of that second box if you have another teammate and we need to get his bag in here. Now, as you can see, this little 1x1 area, while it's not completely sealed just yet, we do have quite a bit of storage in. Now, some people will suggest that why didn't I have a half wall here to add some more shelving, and that's because you can't. With a bag, you cannot actually place a half wall above it, otherwise it won't allow you to spawn in the bag or won't allow you to place the bag or shelf. Now, one neat trick that was taught to me recently by one of my viewers and commenters in the Discord is you can actually place a couple rugs up here, and that'll render the boxes on the top area basically invisible. Now, while it can take a bit of getting used to place these rugs, and it might take you a little bit of time, once placed correctly, they will actually completely hide the boxes from being up there unless somebody's looking. You can also still very easily reach all of the boxes, and it's not going to cause you any issues. Throw on some key locks up there, and they'll never even know they're there. One thing I do recommend if you are using that method, I would not lock your TC. Alright? Frankly, if you lock your TC, they've already got it, right? By the time they get here, they'll take some melee tools, they'll take a rocket, whatever they're going to use, and they're going to blow it up. If you don't lock that TC, they are less likely to overall grief your base. This means you might actually get to keep the entire base, and best of all in this case, it means they won't destroy the rugs. Not destroying the rugs means they might never even get this loot. Of course, we're still not fully sealed up, and in order to do that, we are going to place a temporary half wall down here. Do not ever upgrade this piece, and make sure it faces hard side out. That's going to make it a lot easier to break when you spawn back in. And then finally place your twig floor frame here, or floor piece, sorry. Upgrade that to whatever relevant material you have, and we've done it. We've closed in the bunker. At this point, you can go ahead and add your double door frames everywhere inside, and I do recommend using double door frames. They're just a little easier to get through. And we can either work on expanding the base or just keep it as is. Because I did plan for expansion, in this case I would be going for a 2x2 core. And if you actually want to see this base that I make this into, which fits over 1,000 slots of storage and is one of the best 2x2s I've seen personally, click that card in the top right corner. That's going to take you to my recent 2x2, the Hoarder, designed for up to a 3-man with more storage and maneuverability than any 2x2 I've seen before it. With over a 23 rocket raid to core, it's worth checking out. Of course, opening up the bunker is as simple as spawning inside and taking your rock to this piece of twig. After a few hits, breaks everything open, and coupled with an incredibly small upkeep, this is an incredibly efficient way to start your wipe. Since it is going to cost up to 2 C4 to get into this base unless they go through the work of soft siding, once you upgrade the doors and add some extra foundation pieces, you'll be good to go. If you guys liked the video, if you like the base design, make sure you click that like button on the video. Also, subscribe for future content, as I'm always looking to put out bases that are going to help make your wipe a little easier. Until next time, peace out.